Yes, obviously we're coming off a week where we split games, lost on the road and won at home against this past weekend. I thought we had our best offensive performance this past weekend we've had in SEC play. And we've got a challenge, big-time challenge ahead of us on Tuesday night going down to Fayetteville to play a team that has really been just tremendous at home. And so we got to get ourselves ready to go compete on the road.
Our first question is from Steve Wallentic of the Columbia Tribune.
Morning, Frank.
Morning, Steve.
How do you think your team's ready to handle the press? And I don't think it's something you've seen a ton of this year.
No, not a ton of, but Alabama and some teams have kind of a little bit of it. But we've got to be ready. We'll see. Obviously, on the road we haven't had a team that come after us like they will, and I'm hopeful that we'll be able to handle it. With their press, you can't. You got to be aware of guys coming from behind, and you got to meet passes, and you got to be strong with the ball because they're going to be, aggressive on the ball. So you can't, you can't allow them to knock balls out of hand. So you got to be really aggressive and strong with that, and meet passes, make strong passes, and then when you have an opportunity to break it, you got to break it off the bounce. So, we got to be, we've practiced it, and hopefully we'll do a good job against it.
And how much different is it from your perspective getting ready to play Arkansas this year when you don't have to worry about preparing guys that used to play for Mike?
Well, I haven't put any thought to that, Steve. So, I didn't think about it last year either. I just thought about us going to compete and playing our next SEC game against a quality opponent.
Thanks.
Uh-huh.
Next question is from Bob Holt of the Arkansas Democrat-Gazette.
Hey, Coach, how you doing today?
Good, Bob. How are you?
I'm good. Hey, could you talk about, Clarkson and Brown and Ross? Probably a lot of teams that just like to have one of those guys. You've got all three of them. How good a perimeter trio are those guys, and how well are they playing?
They're really good, and I think Brown is playing as well as anybody in our conference right now. I think he's having an unbelievable run right now in terms of how well he's playing, and I think Clarkson is, he went into league play playing pretty good, and I think he's just been consistent, and Ernest has had his moments. So it's definitely a luxury having three guys that can put the ball in the basket. We just got to get, our post players to do a little bit more, and I think once that happens, and you will get a little bit more out of our bench, we could have a pretty good team. So, but there's no question it's a luxury having three guys that can have a big night, and that's a positive for us in our ball club.
I remember the SEC media days. You were talking about the budding Arkansas-Missouri rivalry, and said you guys were looking for somebody to replace Kansas as a conference rival. I understand Kansas has a lot more history than Arkansas, but how do you see this rivalry developing moving forward?
Well, just because of the proximity of us joining the SEC, this is the closest school to us, and there's I know Coach Stewart and Coach Richardson. They used to play a while back, so those are the types of things you look at in terms of there's not any other SEC team I think that has that kind of attraction for us that we've played before, and I think when you look at those things, that's why you think maybe it could be a team that could be a rivalry. But I'm looking forward to like I said, I mean, I remember playing there last year. We had a lot of folks in the building in there last year because it's right over the line, and there in Springfield, we had some folks come over. So, that's the reason why you would think it would be a rivalry.
Questions from Jerry Tipton of the Lexington Herald-Leader.
Frank, I'm wondering why you think Jabari Brown has been as productive as he's been.
Jared, he's really worked hard on his game to become a complete player. And he was a really good player last year, but his numbers obviously weren't as good. And I think a lot of it has to do with his patience and his understanding and his maturation as a player. He's really, he takes good shots, and he's playing in great rhythm right now. He's playing on both ends of the court, too. I mean, the other night he had 24 points, but he had 6 assists, and he had some nice defensive. His defensive efficiency numbers were good in terms of grading out. So he's been really, really good on both ends of the court. And I think for the most part, it's just him being patient and just been maturing as a basketball player. But he puts in a lot of work and being a really good student of the game in terms of how hard he's worked.
And can you elaborate a little bit by what you mean by patience, how patience helps Jabari be more productive?
Well, I gave you an example at LSU the other night. I think we played probably 6 minutes or 7 minutes into that game before he even took a shot. And, and then all of a sudden I think he ended up with 28. So there have been times, I think early in his career where, he had taken a couple shots, but he waited and took what the defense gave him and was very patient in his approach to the game. And that shows a little maturity for a scorer, and he has shown that this year.
Thanks.
Mm-hmm.
We have a follow-up question from Bob Holt of the Arkansas Democrat-Gazette.
Hey, Coach, sounds like both you and Mike were really downplaying the Bowers-Pressey thing about them being gone. Now, is that just something you think you guys both got sick of talking about last year?
Well, we got sick of talking about it. I just didn't pay any attention to it. I mean, those guys are really good players, and Mike did a great job bringing good talent here, and I enjoyed coaching those two guys last year. And but I embraced those guys if they were our guys when we got the job.
And Mike said yesterday you guys are still really good friends, that you kind of talked out that miscommunication or whatever you want to call it last year when the game in Columbia, when you were kind of seemed irritated during one of the timeouts. Yeah,
there was no issue. I mean, everything is, Mike and I and Marshita and my wife, we're really good friends, and we spend a lot of time with each other, so there's no issue there.